episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. And we haven't done a mailbag episode in a minute, so we thought we'd ask you guys for some of your burning questions on Twitter. You guys did not disappoint, so we've got some questions to answer here today on what should be a very good episode of Stay Hot. But before we get into it, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing on this beautiful Wednesday morning?
I'm doing all right. I'm feeling a little like I've got a cold. My eyes are watering. There's just a glint of a tear on my face. So if I sound stuffed up or my eyes start to water, just know that's why.
Fair enough.
I feel great. I feel good. I got out to the gym this morning.
There you go.
I'm balling.
What did you do at the gym? What was the
cardio
routine?
today. Mostly cardio today. I hit a little bit of back, but I've been going heavy on the cardio. If I don't go to the gym first thing in the morning, I can't do it. So when we have these early records, it really pushes me to be my best and my most excellent.
You're in the alpha mentality.
I'm kind of in that alpha. I mean, I would say more sigma, but I get maybe there's not a big difference to you. To a guy like me, there is, but
You're right. I'm sorry for underselling.
But I'm
Of
sorry.
grind, the type shit you're on.
I mean, most people do. I have this problem with my parents all the time. They're always doubting my grind set and underselling my grind set and that type of stuff.
Real shit.
Oh yeah.
But I'm sorry you're feeling sick, Theo. I'm glad to not be the one who's sick, as it usually goes down. But hopefully you feel.
True. It is usually you who's sick, but
it can't
now
always be you.
It can't always be me.
I'm glad to see that we have survived the storm, Matt.
What the hell?
Yeah, actually, I have a great story about this, by the way. So around Ohio, it was like storming, like super, super bad. You probably saw you probably didn't see a TikTok about it. Maybe you saw a TikTok about it. I did, but that's probably because I live in Ohio.
Yeah.
I heard the thunderclaps when we were doing the live stream yesterday. Yes. Like it sounded like Matt's house was getting struck directly by lightning. Maybe that's what happened.
So basically, I have a friend of mine who I live with who is moving out into a new apartment with his girlfriend. And they went to go, they needed to pick up a table, but their car wasn't big enough to go pick it up. So they asked if they could take my car because I drive an SUV. And it was during that live stream that they left to go do it. It had been on-off rain all day. And when they were coming back, the wind was so strong that it blew one of my windshield wipers just clean off. Just straight up off the car. And they were in probably 8-9 inches of water driving up a hill. It was a crazy video of it.
That is
crazy. You got it much worse than I did. There were areas of central Ohio that got it pretty bad, but where I'm at in Columbus was basically nothing. We got a little bit of rain, a little bit of thunder, but the cool thing was it was sunny. So we got the most incredible rainbow I've ever seen. There's a picture that someone in my band, a friend of theirs is a photographer, and they live in a perfectly flat area of Columbus. So they got a picture of the whole rainbow spanning Columbus, and it's a double rainbow, and the inner part is a different color than the outer part. It's insane. And then I saw someone else take a picture, and you could see lightning strike through the rainbow.
Where does this rank in rainbows all time?
This is the coolest rainbow I've ever seen. I've never seen a rainbow this sick.
This is the goat rainbow?
It might be the goat. It's perfect. It is perfect.
The goat rainbow in Ohio, of all places.
Hey.
The clouds part.
Only
it's Ohio. The one sunny day out of 100 that makes it all worth it.
Hey, we get sunny. It's going to be sunny today mostly. It's sunny right now.
Open your window right now.
What do you mean open my window right now? I promise you it's sunny.
He's
For
ducking.
those listening, it's incredibly gray out, and he's looking like a fool
He
right
opened
now.
he opened the curtain for a millisecond and then
Oh my
immediately
God.
closed it again, so we couldn't see.
How's that for Sunny?
It's clear that you just taped white paper
Yeah,
to the outside of your window
Respect.
before this podcast.
The clouds are
to
making a
trick
big
us.
frown outside of his window. It's actually unbelievable, really.
This is insane. But I think we should get into these questions before the day is done. First one up is from I always never know how to pronounce these Twitter handles, but I'm going to try my best to not mispronounce them. At Chabo Curiel, I think is how you pronounce that. It says, who is the biggest dark horse playoff contenders and why is it the Arizona Cardinals?
They're honestly up there. And the reason why I think they're up there, how many teams would you consider a dark horse playoff team? Most teams would be like offended if you considered them a dark horse playoff team. At this point in the offseason, it's like, how could you possibly even say that about us? So,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm looking at it. The AFC East, the AFC North, both divisions were like, none of those teams feel like they're dark horse. AFC South, maybe the Colts could do it. I mean, AFC West, Cardinals, Seahawks don't feel dark horse. NFC South, I guess. I mean, all those teams stink. NFC North, like kind of all those teams probably think they're going to be pretty good. Like maybe the Vikings, with if they get like JJ McCarthy, will be like, we're dark horse. I just don't think there's that many teams that even fit that bill at this point, you know?
Yeah, I'm going through the top 10, and it's like, which of these teams are dark horses? The Jets have Rodgers coming back and have added Reddick and Tyron Smith. So at this point, expectations are playoffs for that fan base.
Right.
Chicago, expectations playoffs. Atlanta, expectations you win the division. Like Chargers, that might be the dark horse playoff team just because their roster is so bad.
Colts,
But you
Chargers,
can never
and Cardinals written down.
Yeah, you can. It's tough to say they're playoff dark horses with the quarterback and coach that they
But
have.
the Colts can't be dark horses 2 years in a row. They almost made the playoffs last year with Gardner Minshew.
Okay, well then it's like just the Cardinals pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
Tennessee spent all offseason trying to become one of the potential answers to this question.
Just not, bro. I just don't see it at all. I mean, maybe if like every single move they made is like the high end of what it could be, maybe they can win like 8 games. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
At least at this point. We'll see how the draft goes, I guess.
Yeah,
they've got Jeffrey Simmons
next year.
They have Jeffrey Simmons on defense, a good corner duo. They've got Levis, which is, of course, the big question mark. They've got enough around Levis at this point where it's like, I feel like if he was a really good quarterback, the receivers are going to be okay, at least.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they would be my answer because, they've spent all this money. It's a new coaching staff. Like maybe they surprise. Like they could be absolutely anything. And I guess they have a more sound plan than like they're closer to me than the Giants, right? Who pick right above them.
There's got to be some in between from this team might make the playoffs and the Giants.
They're closer to than New England, probably. Maybe if New England drafts like a good quarterback.
What if New England gets May and they kind of like nail a wide receiver pick or two? I think I almost like that happening better than, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that could be my answer as opposed to Tennessee. New England certainly has a higher ceiling, it feels like, than Tennessee. I think May is going to go 2. And even if he goes to Washington, I think they're too far away. But if May were to go to number 3 to New England, I do like Mayo. I think Bill Belichick's like lasting impact could be like grooming a good successor for himself. I'm bought into this narrative.
Yeah.
I think with New England, the defense feels like it's not super far away. And if they just like nail a couple of offensive picks, could they be good enough? Maybe, I don't know. And May
I don't
would
know
have to
about
be amazing out of the gate. I think I like the Cardinals. I really do think they might be the best answer, but I also wonder how much of them being a dark horse is just like they didn't have Kyler for a lot of last year, so their record doesn't really reflect who they are. Because if we were talking about like a 6-win Cardinals team being a dark horse after having multiple first-round draft picks and kind of like a lot of assets to mess with this offseason, it'd be like, I don't know. They kind of should win 9 games is how it would feel, right?
Yeah, but I mean, at this point, they don't really have any receivers. So, I mean, you're hoping they get Marvin and then.
Well, it's going to be
Or
up to them to
Rome,
get a
or
receiver.
Neighbors.
I mean, like, kind of nothing's stopping them. I guess hypothetically, you have to assume that they will.
Matt,
I don't know
what
if-
happened in that mock draft that we did? Did it go quarterback 4 picks in a row?
Yeah, they traded with the Vikings.
That's right.
In the 32-person mock draft that me and Blaiden did a little while ago. They got 11-23 and then a next year first from the Vikings, which I would take if I was the Cardinals, but I don't think that would stop them from still loading up on receiver. I know there's a lot of talk about the Cardinals like trading down and back up again, which like
That's what they did last year.
it is what they did
And
last year.
how much is it just like, oh, they did it last year, and it's like, oh, they'll certainly do it again.
I think it's a mix of things. It's not only it's the fact that there's a lot of talk about all of these quarterbacks going very high, and there's a team that, you know, is apparently positioning itself to trade up, and the Cardinals have traded down and then back up. So it would be maybe possible to see them doing that again because they'd still want one of those top receivers. I think there's enough dots to connect there to see it happening again. Now, again, I have a couple of questions about it. Like, is someone really going to trade up to 4 for like JJ McCarthy?
I have a trade up take. I have a trade back take, or both. I think it might be more likely that the Chargers do it at 5.
I think what a lot of people are talking about is them the Cardinals trading down and then trading back up with 5 to get Marv.
I think it could totally happen for the Chargers. Like, you've got Harbaugh, who's got 2 years before he gets arrested, obviously. And we're sitting here talking about the Chargers roster. I know we're not talking about dark horses anymore, but just on the side. And we're like, okay, they have a horrible corner room. They have a horrible wide receiver room. They need more help on the line. They need more help on the defensive line. They badly need linebacker. Like, they need all of this shit. But all the fans need to pick at 5 because they could get Marv, they could get Rome, they could get Alt. They don't want Alt, they want a receiver. Like, but there's just so many
need
needs.
a receiver bad, man.
And I really wonder if Harbaugh, coming from the college ranks, feels really good about the board this year or something. Like, oh, he's been in it. He's seen all these players. Like, how can we just add the most talent possible? And he feels like he's got a really good idea of what college players could help him, because the team needs a complete transformation from offensive philosophy to the new defensive philosophy. Like, none of their players are good enough, and hardly any of them translate. So this is looking like a complete roster rebuild, and I really wonder if at that 5 spot they say, look, Rome is great, you know, but we need more help than that, and we're in a spot to contend right away. We need a complete roster overhaul, and if we can do it, we can win a Super Bowl right away because we have Justin Herbert, or we can contend in the AFC right away at least. So I think that they could potentially stockpile picks and try to rebuild the roster that way instead of just taking one guy.
I think Marv is fantastic, but there's a lot of truth in when you're this far away. It's like, how do you make it up? Give me more chances in the draft. I just need more opportunities.
And maybe that could, and like, if they have a deal in place with Minnesota, maybe like, could that be why Minnesota got another first in this draft? Like, the Chargers are just trying to add, like, instead of a second, we don't care what the analytics say. We don't want a second round pick. We want another first round pick because it's so far away and we need so much talent. So to get 2 this year instead of a first this year and a first next year. Like, I don't know if that's pure crazy speculation, but maybe one of these teams just wants the first more than seconds. Or
what else would
day
Minnesota
twos.
even be able to offer? Because they don't have any other picks until day 3 this year.
Well, now they don't. But they made that trade with the Texans to get the 23rd pick, right? And it seemed like they were putting themselves in position to make a trade up. And what we were wondering is like, well, why wouldn't you just trade what you traded for 23 in the package for whatever the trade up is? Because these analytics are saying, you gave up value to get 23. Why didn't you trade all the day 2 picks? And maybe just one of these teams at the top like really wants 2 first round picks this year. And like maybe it's the Chargers. I don't know. I think it would make a lot of sense for them to think this way and think like quantity over one quality piece. Like they're very far away. And I think that's kind of a proven way to do it is trade back a bunch of times.
They are far away. I still think their biggest need is clearly receiver. I don't even know who their wide receiver 1 is at this point.
Their corner situation is just as bad as their receiver situation. It's just like receiver is receiver. That's my take. And like, who is their linebacker right now?
Well, look, I think the idea is that the corners are pretty rough, and they are. You're not lying. But if you don't have any receivers, that hurts Herbert in a way that, like, if you don't have any corners, it's kind of a separate problem. I think that's a lot of the logic.
The receivers are also better in this class than the corners.
I guess Asante Samuel by himself might make the cornerback room better, but damn, like everybody.
There is not one good receiver on this team. There isn't one.
No, there's not. They're just so bad. I mean, again, we go through the depth chart, and it's like Scott Matlock and like Nick Neiman, like Fulton, who's gonna get hurt probably, and then it's like Dean Leonard is in there. There's hardly any names on this depth chart at all. Like the amount of blank spots that are still there too. So there's just no depth.
They've got 4 receivers on the roster. Like they have just enough to like run the formations that you couldn't run 5 out if you didn't if you wanted to. They don't have the guys.
Running back out there.
Luckily they have 4 tight ends and 4 running backs.
Oh God.
So luckily Harbaugh had his little quote. He's like, I like football. This starts the year for me.
Christianity.
He does like
he's
football.
Like Christ gets I don't know.
How can you not love him?
I just think it's funny that Harbaugh has gone on like this. I don't want to say it's a religious arc for him because it's probably not an arc, but like the last time we really saw him, it was, I guess, at his introductory press conference, and I'm not totally sure what he all said there, but the national championship lead up, he was like, Jesus would have been a 5-star, and like Moses, I'm going to die leaning on my staff. And now he's like I can't remember the exact quote he had yesterday now. So my aside here is lame, but he's gone full George Bluth mode after being in solitary confinement and like seeing some holy symbol on the wall and like totally converting.
He went on a darkness retreat.
Well, he was suspended, and I think from there he like figured out
Yeah.
the cosmos and the heavens, and he's now like looking at football and being like, this is, I can never get this taken from me again. I don't know. I feel like that's the vibe that I'm getting from him recently.
Fair enough. Well, we spent a little bit of time talking about the Chargers. One of these next questions is from Carson King. Who is the annual 2-15 team?
Oh boy.
The question's
Could it be the
kind of directed.
Chargers?
They're not going to go 2-15. They will not go 2-15.
They have Herbert.
They have Herbert. Herbert is good for at least, he'll get you to at least 5 by himself, no matter how bad the roster is.
Interesting. I guess the question is like, who are you looking at? Because at this point in the offseason, it's most teams have a pretty rosy outlook. I mean, even the really bad teams are like, well, we're gonna win 6 games. We're not gonna win 2. Come on.
Yeah.
So which one team do you look at and you're like, okay, no, they're going to be horrible? Answer off the top of my head, the Giants. I feel like really stink.
They do.
I'm looking at the bottom of the NFC West with the quarterback situations in Las Vegas and Denver. And I'm not sure which team it is, but I will say one of those two could be the 2-15 team. The Broncos let a lot of talent go this offseason. They have no quarterback. They're in a division with the Chiefs. I know they went on a winning streak and went 8-9 last year, but when you stack up all the talent in the league, it's like they're pretty near the bottom with no real path to secure franchise quarterback play.
Yeah.
That one could be bad. And then the Raiders, like, again, it's Aiden O'Connell and Antonio Pierce. That's your head coach quarterback combination.
They will be trading up for Jaden Daniels.
I know the culture shifted or whatever when Pierce got in charge. He got the interim boost and they all went crazy. And I know that Max Crosby was going to demand a trade if they didn't move him or if they moved on from Pierce. But I don't know. I see some of the other interim coaches that get hired full time after they look good initially, and that shine starts to wear off a little bit going into the future. So I want Antonio Pierce to win in Las Vegas because I think that they're just kind of a funny team build. Like they're like the Fast and Furious family is everything mentality these days. Like, I don't know, just they got Antonio Pierce is my guy. Like, I don't care about his recruiting scandals at ASU. Like, I don't know what he does schematically. That's special, but he just has he has so much dog in him that like the players demand that he stays. So I think it's a funny archetype and I hope that it works out, but I definitely think that one of those two teams could be
I feel like the Raiders
worst in the league.
I feel like the Raiders have a little too much talent to be 2-15. Like just a little bit.
I mean, they won 8 games and got better. So maybe Denver's the better choice there. Like, I definitely think that usually for my 2-15 takes, it's somewhat of a controversial pick. Like
again, no team is, I think it's completely controversial almost no matter what to call a team 2-15 at the start of the year. Maybe the one team where most people would be like, okay, would be the Panthers, really. You could probably get away with calling the Panthers 2-15. But even then, I bet you...
Because that was a record last year, 2-15.
Right. So you're saying they didn't get better at all? I mean, they added so-and-so and yada yada, and I mean, they're going to get the 5 wins.
If New England doesn't get May, it's all they're Darkhorse playoff contenders if they get May. They're 2-15 contenders if they don't. That's what I'll say about New England, and also the regard that I hold for Drake May. They also could be contenders. Like if they get May and like they hit on a wide receiver, like it could be great. Like I like their defense, but if they get like Jaden and they throw Jaden into the situation that it currently looks like, it's like, could they meet the same fate as the 2022 Panthers or the 2023 Panthers? I think they could. Who would be a dark horse? What would be like if there was one team that was in or around the playoffs that went 2-15?
That would not like totally shock
that would not like totally shock you to
like let's say like a team that was like kind of like winning record, but like maybe they're like a bottom 5
how about
team
above
next
500
year. Okay.
Yeah,
the New Orleans Saints.
I was gonna say the Atlanta Falcons.
Here's my question. How many teams this offseason do you
the Falcons
feel like
have the 8th overall pick in the draft, Blaiden?
Oh yeah, because they lost to the Saints. That's right. They didn't have a winning record. My bad.
They were 7-10. You needed 2 more wins, but anyway. I agree with you about the Saints. Derek Carr.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they didn't get any better so far. I mean, it's pretty much just the draft. It feels like them and the Cowboys, and I'm trying to think of who else falls into that category. Maybe Buffalo, but Buffalo is a lot better. The Cowboys are a lot better. I don't really think they will. I think Saints energy will get them to 7 again or 8, and they'll be in the division because the division sucks. And they have here's the thing, they play in the NFC South, which makes this very easy to avoid because you play so many good division games or easy division games. But man, it just feels like they're getting another year older. A lot of their big pieces have been old for a while. I think that, and Ramsek is supposed to be out. Things aren't going well with his recovery, and that makes tackle like a total disaster for him. It's like you're an Olave injury away from a disaster receiver room. I don't think that Kamara is what he once was at this point. I mean, he's like 28, 29. That's past the point for a lot of running backs. I don't know, man. They didn't, I mean, did they, what, I feel like I remember them making a big addition, but off the top of my head,
Chase Young.
Yes, Chase Young, who's good. I do like that ad, but he's not like a surefire going to come in and be dominant for him or anything. So I think
Demario Davis is old. Like you could be looking at like Marshawn Lattimore is always banged up. They could definitely have that whole coaching staff out by week 8. Definitely. And Another one would be the Steelers, probably for me. Just like they're the devil magic. They always go 9-8 team. They have probably a better quarterback than they did last year. Like, how could we possibly? Like, I know expectations are at a fever pitch, honestly, from what I've seen from Steelers fans. But it's like their wide receiver 2 is Van Jefferson, and like their quarterback is still Russ, and like
or Fields.
I don't. Or Fields.
Fields to Jefferson.
I definitely wouldn't expect it to happen, but like Dante Jackson is a starting corner for them. Like you can never count it out. Like Cameron Hayward is getting older. Obviously their defense looks too good. And Tomlin, I think, is too good. And they'll probably draft some wide receiver with effort concerns like Adonai Mitchell or Adonai Mitchell. Or like Leggett or something.
Mitchell is such a Steeler. Oh my God.
Leggett, who's kind of like working on his own time and running verticals all the time, and he's talented. And Tomlin will get his hands on him, and it'll be like 1,500 yards. So I don't expect it to happen, but amongst playoff teams, there are some like glaring holes on the Steelers roster that makes me think like.
I honestly think they're kind of Saintsy. Or the Saints are kind of Steelersy in the way that they always seem to be like all right. They're not quite the level of the Steelers because the Steelers always find a way to like get that extra game and a half and make.
Yeah, they're playing in the playoffs, and
the Saints are like that where it's like they always like okay, they have 8 wins and they have 9 wins, like okay, so they'll probably do it again. And I'm a biased Panthers fan, of course, but I guess I haven't checked the Saints fan base. Are you guys getting pumped about this? Because I feel like they're one of the very. I feel like they're one of the very few rosters where it's like it's tough to argue that this is going to be significantly better next year. And this is again the point of the offseason where it's like you can make any move on paper feel like it's great, and like if you're not feeling like your team's going to be 4 or 5 wins better, like your team probably stinks. And if you're feeling like your team is going to be 4 or 5 wins better, that doesn't really tell me very much,
Yeah, everyone feels that way.
Everyone feels that way. So, I don't know.
I could also maybe see Jacksonville. Like, even though they got Armstead, I don't like what they've done this offseason. Like, I think Bulky struck again in terms of bad habits and signing mid players and like letting decent starters go for nothing. And obviously with Lawrence, it will prevent them from like just winning 2 games. But I look at the Chargers at that number 5 spot, and some of these quarterbacks like just don't have the supporting talent or the organization around them.
I might disagree with the whole Trevor Lawrence will prevent them from winning 2 games. He's not Herbert, man. And if Herbert's if they get the 5th overall pick with Herbert, bro, I mean the Jags could absolutely be 2-50.
This is actually a question I've been asking myself recently.
Like every
So
other team in their division looks like they got better, right? Like they missed the playoffs and Houston got in last year. Like Colts have Richardson back and the Titans have made all these moves. The Jaguars have made a ton of moves this offseason as well, but like, are they good moves? So when you're slotting in this division, like if anything were to happen to Lawrence, like have they built a good enough team to survive, or have they built a complete dumpster fire? Because I'm not totally sure with the coaching after what happened last year. Like I like Doug Peterson. He's had good years and he's had bad years. Last year was a bad year. Could it be a good year next year? Like, yes, but I don't know. I'm not sold on the coaching staff. I'm not sold on the roster. I'm not sold on Bulky or the organization. Like they could be, like they're the Jaguars. They could always be terrible.
yeah, it kind of brings me to a question I've been thinking about recently. You know, Lawrence, I think he's good, but he's not like proven by any stretch like Herbert is. Not even remotely close. Herbert has had some incredibly high level statistical years on top of the film really supporting him. And we're getting into year 4 with Lawrence. Do you expect next year to go better? Is there anything to make you think that next year will go better other than like Lawrence just takes an incredible leap and makes it work with a roster that's not that great, or things just play out better for him in a tougher division?
I think things can play
it.
out better for Lawrence specifically, but as far as like the entire team, not really. I don't know if I expect, like they doubled down on their offensive line. They had a Mitch Morse, which was nice, but and Cleveland, who they re-signed, gave them some stability at the end of the year, whereas before their left guard spot was like a total disaster, but still he's not someone quite worth paying. So I think their offensive line is still going to be bad. Their receiver room is worse. Like their defense is about the same. Maybe there's a huge jump from Trayvon Walker, who did get to 10 sacks last year. Like I do believe that, you know, he was taken for his, as a project. Like you got to let it develop a little bit. So he could maybe have a third year breakout. And I think with Lawrence, he got unlucky. Like there's the long video of like almost touchdowns that he had that were like an
That's
inch
very
short.
true. I agree with that.
And I do believe in the talent of Lawrence. Like I really think that he is
My point is not that Lawrence isn't good, or that like he's going to like bust because Gabe Davis is wide receiver 2 or whatever the hell. But I think the narrative around Lawrence could get pretty nasty if like statistically he does not match up in that sort of like top 12 range. And I think there's like real risk that does not happen, because I just don't think the team around him is that great. It wasn't a good offensive line last year. Mitch Morse is good, but like, is he changing that life? And like the receiver room feels worse at the moment. Draft hasn't happened yet, but that's where we're sitting.
I'm hoping for like a Dak arc, maybe where like Dak had a great rookie year and then like 2 down years, and then everybody was out on him, and then he started becoming an MVP candidate for basically every season after that. Lawrence obviously had the disaster rookie season, but then he was good the following year and ended the year really well. And then this might be the 2 down years where everybody quits on him, and then I'll still be there cheering him on, and then hopefully he goes on the Dak run for the years after these potential lean seasons. Because when you look at this division and you look at what the Jaguars have done, there's not a ton of reason to have faith. I mean, they sold what should have been an easy division win last year. Like the Texans overtook them, and they don't really
blundered that.
And now it's tough to get excited. So they could be another team that is in the playoffs that could be a sneaky disaster, but I wouldn't bet on that. But
I wouldn't either. I don't like them nearly. Honestly, I wouldn't bet on the Steelers. It's tough to bet on any team. I feel
if the question is who's like the most likely to go 2-15, it's probably
2
the
and
teams
15.
we talked about.
2 and 15 is just too difficult.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's happened before where there's been years where a 2 and 15 just like doesn't happen. Like the worst team has been 3 and 13 or 3 and 14 or whatever. But when you get bottom 5 or like bottom 7 pick, I feel like that's a little bit more realistic. Like which one of these teams could only win like 5 games next year? That is a more interesting conversation. It feels more realistic. But I don't think it's going to happen to the Jaguars. I don't think it's going to happen to the Steelers. But I also recognize that like if it wasn't the Steelers, they're kind of like the Miami Heat of of the NFL. It's
Except they don't go on playoff runs.
Except
they get like
but it's not the
smoked.
play. It's the regular. But they go on regular season runs. It's a different sport, different league. You don't
True,
go on
like
regular
they're
season. It's not.
instead of playoff Jimmy, it's like December Tomlin. It's
Right.
it's not to win anything.
And then the
It's
Saints
just to get yourself in good position.
The Saints. I mean, they never win 2 games, so
Yeah.
they found a way. I don't remember the last time the Saints were that bad. Probably not.
Oh,
Since
definitely
I was a
not.
very
I mean,
little kid, I may not have been like
Definitely,
conscious,
it would have been before they had Breeze. I mean,
oh yeah,
which was a long before they had Peyton, which was like what, like 05? It was a long time ago.
yeah.
But anyway, there is one more question we have. I don't know who it's from because I don't have that in front of me. But which division do you feel like is most likely to go 4 for 4 on playoff teams?
That was the one I was going to do next too. From Chris Hogan. Yes, I said that right. Chris Hogan.
The famous Patriots receiver?
No, not that one.
Figured.
Off the top of my head.
Off the top of your head? Yeah, there's one division that stands out. I don't think you're crazy. Go nuts.
Do you already know? How do you already know who I'm gonna say?
Because I think there's a right answer, and I know you, Blaiden.
AFC North,
right?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, ask yourself which one of these divisions of the 8 have the best worst team? Because that's really the challenge here. Is like which one of these divisions could get their 4th team in?
Yeah.
The answer is easily the AFC North, and it's either the Steelers who always find the way, or I guess then you'd be saying the Browns or the Bengals. Like, dude, I think all those teams are pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, they all made it
issue,
except for the Bengals last year. And Burrow
and the Bengals would have if Burrow didn't get hurt. The only issue with the AFC North is that I'm trying to think about like who's the second best team in some of the other divisions, and could they overtake the worst team in the AFC North? But AFC West probably not.
We're asking just straight up who is the most likely to go 4 for 4. It's unlikely.
I guess
for
that's
anybody.
true.
So
I guess
it's
that's true.
I take the Steelers over the. Okay, your AFC East Patriots. Let's say the Steelers are the worst team, just for the sake of argument.
They are, but yeah.
Patriots, I'm taking Steelers. Titans in the AFC South, I'm taking Steelers. AFC West, I mean Broncos or Raiders, I'm taking Steelers.
Yeah.
Giants in the NFC East, I'm taking Steelers. NFC North, it's an interesting debate. I think the Vikings could be good if they get the quarterback situation figured out. I think the Bears are probably going to be pretty good. I like the Lions. I like the Packers. But with the Vikings not having a QB in place and me thinking that they probably won't get May, I do like the Steelers a little bit more, but I think the NFC North might be my number 2. NFC South, come on. And then NFC West, also a division where it's like, yeah, maybe if we're saying the Cardinals are dark horse, maybe, but I think the Rams defense is going to be kind of rough.
Yeah.
I don't think the NFC West could do it. Maybe the AFC South, they don't have anybody dominant, but like we've talked about it on this episode that everybody has kind of put themselves in position to win the division, like including the Titans with the moves they've made this offseason. Obviously, it's a long shot. They're a dark horse. It's probably not going to happen. But when you look at the best, worst team, like I think the AFC South was a little bit like this last year where everybody just kind of stacked up in the 7-win range or 8 or 9-win range altogether, and there wasn't like a dumpster fire. And yeah, with the moves the Texans have made, they look like Super Bowl contenders. I still think the Jaguars can like make a wild card, even though I said that they could be a dark horse team to absolutely suck. And same with the Colts. Like I believe in Richardson to a high degree, and then who knows what? Like I said, the Titans could be anything. So the South is another team where, like, it could be 4 wild card caliber teams, and not
I guess
one.
that's all you need.
But the Houston is legit good. Houston is legit,
Yes.
quite good. I should say. Like if they made a wild card, I'd be disappointed.
Or
if they didn't
let me ask you this: does the NFC North have an advantage because they're in the NFC?
Well, like
Because
Blaiden said, it comes
need to
down
get
to.
all the wild card teams.
I think they do, just because the Cowboys are probably the second best team in another division that would ruin it, right? There isn't really a second best team in the NFC South that makes you really scared. The Bucs are pretty good. The Falcons have positioned themselves to be decent as well, I think. So you can't ignore the Falcons. And then the NFC West, like, we'll see what the Seahawks are able to do. I don't think they're having the greatest offseason. The Rams just lost Donald. Like, the Cardinals aren't that good. So the Falcons and the Cowboys, I guess, are the main competition for the other NFC North teams. Whereas in the AFC, it's like the Dolphins
I don't know. I could kind of see it like
and the Bengals.
maybe in both cases, it's very unlikely because like you'd need in the AFC like the Bills or the Dolphins to miss the playoffs. Not easy. But in the AFC South, like, I don't know, we were just talking about Jacksonville, maybe not that good. The Colts, I think they'll be better, but like, what if I'm wrong? And then in the AFC West, like, could it just be the Chiefs? Like, yeah, possibly. I think the answer is still the NFC North, or the AFC North, I mean. But NFC is not a bad pick, and I can see the vision with the AFC South, although I don't think that would be my pick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
'cause
AFC North will be
I think
interesting.
the AFC North would ruin it for the AFC South, would be my.
Yeah, that could definitely be. Although I definitely could see a world where the AFC North isn't quite the powerhouse that it was last year with some of the talent that Baltimore has lost, and like Cleveland has got that great defense, bad quarterback formula that isn't necessarily consistent year to year, and the Steelers just top to bottom aren't crazy talented. So I might say the NFC North would be is a little bit more on the upswing, all things considered. Like, the Bears are on the upswing, and maybe some of these AFC North teams are headed down. So maybe my answer will be NFC North, and I'll be extra biased. But
I guess you would be a little biased. But I mean, I don't know. Detroit's good. Packers proved to be really good last year.
The Vikings could sell it. The Vikings and
the Vikings and the Bears.
Yeah, the Bears, I think their offense will be good, and their defense. Like, the Bears, I think are good, like, wild card contenders, and they have the upside to maybe win the division. But like the Vikings, I look at their quarterback and like defensive line and and everything, and it's like, man, they've got weapons, and their offensive line is decent nowadays. But man, the defense, I know they have Flores, and the quarterback make me think like they're probably the ones bringing up the rear here and could sell us here in the North. But
I like them as a landing spot for a quarterback. As a team in total, and which quarterback they're actually going to get, that's when I start to get a little bit more questionable.
This episode of Stay Hot is brought to you by the spring cleaning champions over at Manscaped. This season, make sure to groom your carpets and the drapes with the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. Clear out that winter bush with Manscaped's new Lawnmower 5.0 and watch your confidence bloom like the springtime flowers. Embrace the season and join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our official offer. Go over to manscaped.com and use the code STAYHOT, all caps, all one word, for 20% off plus free shipping. Because after I've started using Manscaped, I can say I have finally caught the spring fever. And of course, you hate making a mess. That's why they made this boy waterproof. Shave in the shower, in the bath, or even, if you really want to, in the ocean. So once again, go and get 20% off plus free shipping with the code STAYHOT. Again, that's all caps, all one word, at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping for the best below the waist grooming in the world with the code STAYHOT at manscaped.com. Nothing like a little spring cleaning in your pants. Next question: who are going to be the Lakers/Warriors of the NFL season? Older teams that fall off because of they're old, or maybe they massively underperform compared to their expectations?
Definitely the Eagles. Definitely, the Eagles to me are very obvious for this.
Well, it's kind of like there's so few teams that even fit the sort of like older and have been good for a long time bill in the NFL. I just think teams don't get like that in the NFL as often as they do in the NBA, where it's like a team will get good, or they'll get those few core guys, and then they'll be good like 6-7 years in a row. They'll be in the playoff race like six. It just doesn't work the same way. Things are a little bit more fluid in the NFL. So you look around and you're like, the answers are probably like the Eagles are, they don't feel like they're
the
way
Eagles
better.
and the Bucks.
The Eagles, the Bucks, but even the Bucks don't feel like they're well. Yeah, and then I'd say maybe if you're looking for like a team that's been good for a while that's starting to get older. I mean, the Bills. We were talking about them last year as that team.
Mhm.
Yes.
True. Very much so.
But other than that, I mean, who even would be in discussion for fitting that bill? I mean, like the Niners, who I think will still be good. The Chiefs, where I'm not gonna,
No, yeah.
They're
The
old
Bills
enough
are
that
honestly
they're
a
gonna be
great
good.
answer as well. It might be them because they've
But
got
I don't know
like
if the Bills have the
Curry and
expectations.
LeBron.
I don't know if they have the
Oh, they
expectations.
totally do. They totally have the
I
expectations.
feel like they
It's
lost a lot, man.
They did lose a lot, but they have Josh Allen. It's the same thing with like the Warriors and Lakers, right? Where it's like if you have LeBron James or you have Steph Curry, like the expectations are high, and if you're struggling, it's going to be a big story, and you're going to be the most talked about, 500 team in the league if you've got one of those guys. Like no one should have crazy expectations for like the Warriors right now, right? Like
I
they're a
guess.
play-in team, and yeah, things have run its course, and yeah, Clay is really old, and Draymond and Curry are really old now, but it could sneak into the play, and it's like, oh, is this Warriors team like super dangerous because they've got all these proven stars, and that's just always gonna be how it is when you've got the proven stars, and I could definitely see it like the Bills never had their big run of championships, but at this point they lost all their kind of core pieces from when they were at their peak, and you're looking at it now and you're saying, where's Trey White and where are the safeties and where is Von Miller? Like we gave him this huge contract, and where is my and where is Diggs, and where is, like, they've got all these stars, but you're trying to get it done and you're just too old, and especially this year, it feels like, yeah, the expectations will be lower, but that kind of makes it even more Lakers and Warriors-esque, doesn't it? Because, like, who is picking the Lakers to win the entire thing, even in the preseason? Like,
I guess
no one
that's
thought they were
fair.
getting past the Nuggets, right? They were just kind of doomed to be bad, and then their fan base is doomed
I
to.
will say the
make
oldest
jersey
team in the
swaps.
NFL at the start of last year was the New York Jets. That's a team that could have
Rodgers.
some pretty. I'm just saying, man. Team that could have high expectations.
but they haven't done
They're
it.
not the Warriors, though. The Jets aren't like the
They haven't done
Warriors.
it, but they haven't done it. But Rodgers has.
Yeah,
Sort of.
like
I remember going to class the next day in fourth grade, and my Viking fans friends. I showed up late because I had stayed up so late because I was a little kid, right? And
Bro
just
was
the Packers win
hungover watching the Super Bowl, and
Yeah, I was hungover as a fourth grader on milk and cookies or whatever that I was eating, nachos. My parents dropped me off at school like 2 hours after it started because it had been a late night, and I walk in with this shit-eating grin on my face. And that's when my friend Joe told me at lunchtime, Super Bowls are overrated. That's what was going on in my life the last time Rodgers did it. I had recess and music, and I was
Hey,
playing
at
the
least
xylophone.
you have one, man. At least you remember.
Oh yes, I remember it well. I wouldn't trade it for the shit that you guys have gone through, but it has been a long time. I don't think you can say the Jets because the Jets just are not the Warriors and Lakers. Like they're the Jets.
I
The Bills
guess.
aren't the Warriors and Lakers either, but at least they've been good recently.
No, but the Bills have like made the playoffs pretty consistently, and I mean, if we're saying like what team has won four Super Bowls in the last 10 years, it's like, okay, well, the Patriots.
Okay,
Like,
yeah,
nobody-
are the Chiefs gonna fall off or no? Like that's
It's like
which maybe they
team,
do.
Which team has won a championship in the last 5 years and has won 17 total? You know, like it's tough to do the one for one.
Maybe the Chiefs could be a good answer because, like, if for I shouldn't say if for whatever reason, we would know the reason. Like if Rashee Rice gets shut down or
Oh my
I don't
god.
know, goes to jail. I don't know what's happening with his situation. I think he'll play because he's an NFL player, but like if he were to not play or fall off or something, the Chiefs would definitely be the most Lakers-esque online, where like every receiver would be connected to that. Like every deadline rumor would be like, oh, the Chiefs will be on it. Like the Chiefs will be on it. Like the Chiefs will certainly add this guy, and maybe they would too. But
Dude, kind of. And then when they stink, it's like being a Lakers role player. It's like
it is. You
I
already
can
see
see
it
the vision.
sometimes where they're like they're like, oh, we need Mooney, dude. Like, I don't know, or
We
any
need
wide receiver who
Mooney.
is on the
Oh
market.
my god.
I think I saw
Like,
somebody
gets
tweet out
connected to the
about
Chiefs.
the Ritter.
Oh, but they have
to,
Hollywood, I guess. So
They do have Hollywood and that kind of, and they're gonna probably draft a guy, and it's like, all right. And it was bad last year, and they won the Super Bowl. So, is it gonna be like so much worse that it ruins the team next year? It's like I can't imagine. I mean, it would have to be like us three out there at this point.
I don't think they'll be in the wild card round, which is what
I
like,
would
the
I would
Lakers and
save
Warriors
them.
find
It's
themselves
okay.
in. But they'll probably be at the center of the most like Lakers-esque dialogue of like every mid-roll player being connected to them at the deadline. I would say, and I think that's probably just the natural course of being on top. I remember when the Patriots were on top, like every single good player that got cut, or like every single,
And then
like,
and then every time
we're really
they
gonna
did
let him
it,
go
it
to
was
the
like,
Patriots.
we really. No way! I remember the Panthers did that one time. I remember they traded Coney. Yeah, I've probably said this 1,000 times on the podcast. They traded Coney Ely to move up 8 spots, and it was like, how did Bill Belichick do it? And he didn't make the roster. He played for the Jets that year.
Yeah,
And you know
I
what?
think when you're
Taylor
when
Moton
you're the
was drafted with
dynasty,
that pick. Dave Gettleman fleeced
who is picked with that?
Taylor Moton.
Oh, nice. Yeah, he did fleece. Yeah, I think when you're the best, and like if you fall off in any discernible way, like that causes the most havoc. So it's probably the Chiefs if they fall off in a discernible way. But I like the Bills probably the most. Of course, the Eagles getting older, like their secondary, like they could also be like trade for any secondary player, like insert the name. So there's a couple good options. And then the Bucks are old and like could definitely fall off, but they just don't have the aura. They don't have the necessary aura to be a Lakers Warriors NFL comp. They play in Tampa, like they have Baker as their quarterback. No one really has high expectations.
They're winning the Super Bowl. They've got Baker. Or they'll lose to the Browns.
You might,
yeah.
This podcast might talk about the Bucks in that way, but most wouldn't.
Yeah. I think I agree. With the Bucks, it's like they won one, and I'm assuming most Bucks fans are kind of like, all right, we're probably not going to win the Super Bowl next year, but like we're going to have a good time. With like the Bills, especially, it's like it's still like we need
to get
in a way that the Warriors and Lakers still are that way, even though they've both won recently, and it's not like their current builds were necessarily failures, but it's just different in the NBA.
This is just the like what team's fan base will be most agitated at the deadline, like discussion, because that's what the Lakers and Warriors fans are. But
yeah. Well, speaking of Baker Mayfield, this question comes from Sean Lynch. Who is the worst QB you have ever watched?
There was a fateful Josh Freeman game on Monday night that was pretty bad that I'll always remember when he played for the Vikings. Like he could not hit the broadside of a barn. That was pretty bad.
If we're talking like NFL, because if we go to college, it's like, dude, most backups like cannot play. Like they can.
Kyle McCord this year for the Buckeyes.
I mean, he's
Bryce Young.
As far as far as like, man. As far as like NFL guys go, I have my take is that the worst NFL quarterback ever is Christian Hackenberg, and he really stunk in college. But it feels me. I don't really want to rag.
Did he ever play in the NFL?
No, he never got into a real game. I think he played a little bit of preseason. He was rough. He was like, they don't make QBs like him anymore, where it's like they're just like real. Like he was really a statue. Like really a statue. He was still picked in the second round, and he took a ton of sacks. But it was a time where like Penn State's offensive line also really stunk. So it was like, okay, well, it's just the offensive line, and like it wasn't just the offensive line. It was him too.
But they had good receivers in that era. That was like
I think they had like maybe Allen Robinson. That might have been before his time. As far as like, Jimmy Clausen for the Panthers was really, really bad. He stunk. Jake Delhomme towards the end of things was a little sad for Carolina. McCord is probably the worst like starter that I can remember for OSU. outside of like Joe Bauserman, but that hardly counts. He was
That
really
doesn't
bad.
count as the worst quarterback play you've ever seen, though.
All right.
Is in terms of specific the Josh Freeman game. Are you familiar with this game? Do you remember watching it, or is this
What
more
year
of a
is
minute?
this?
This would have been 2013. Freeman was like the starter for the Bucks, or he was slated to be like the starter for the Bucks that season.
So I think
He'd been
was this before he played for the Browns?
probably almost certainly, yeah. Like,
Okay.
but then he got in like a fight with his coach and got like benched or cut or something, and people were like, "Well, he was like kind of slated to be a starter, and now he's just on the Vikings, and he's about to start on really short notice in prime time, like Monday Night
Yes.
Football." Yeah, and it was like really short notice was the thing. Like they had just acquired him, and it was kind of a big game that everybody was going to watch, and he came in,
Oh,
and it
you
was
know
the
what?
worst quarterback performance that I had ever seen. He was. It was like if the Josh Dobbs thing happened,
I was
but instead of
thinking
Josh
Josh
Dobbs
Dobbs,
being
buddy.
good and like miraculously making plays, he was like completely.
I'm looking at the stat line.
garbage.
He went 20 for 53.
Yes, the
with
53
190
part.
Damn.
yards and 1 interception. Only took 1 sack though. Didn't fumble.
Hey.
Yes, and the game wasn't like out of hand at any point either. What was the final
They
score?
lost 23-7, but who knows how? I can click and
Oh.
actually see how.
I was
But the Giants really
confusing
poured it on in
Freeman.
well,
I was confusing Freeman for Jason Campbell, I fear.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
They were in the game for a while. Throwing it
They threw it way
53
too
times
much.
is awesome.
They had prime AP too, and they just
Who ran it 13 times for 28 yards that game.
Tough.
One other rushing attempt, Cordero Patterson. He's been in the league a minute, man.
Wow. All right, time to get into the real worst quarterbacks of all time.
I was about
Yeah,
to say,
Blaiden, what do you have to say?
like, I'm almost certain Brandon Whedon had a game worse than this.
Brandon Whedon was pretty bad. Brandon Whedon was throwing to Josh Gordon, and they went like 4-12. Man, this was horrific. But I'm gonna say, guys that have to be considered. Matt, you're right. Jake Delhomme. He's got to be in that mix.
He was a good player. He was a good player, but I remember his final Panthers game was like a very, very sad way to go out.
He couldn't start over Colt McCoy, so let's. It's a struggle out here. I feel like Thad Lewis, Johnny Manziel was pretty bad. Austin Davis was horrible.
Is there a performance that sticks out? Obviously, every Browns quarterback has been bad.
Yeah,
Was there like a game that you remember watching? Like, this is the saddest.
I remember this
There's-
very vaguely.
Go ahead,
Go
Matt.
ahead, Matt.
Brandon Whedon's, I think his first game as a Brown was like he threw like 4 interceptions and completed like none of his passes or whatever. And
my
it was,
God.
and I think I remember sitting with my dad and being like, great, you know.
Yeah, it was. Okay, this is his debut versus Philadelphia. 12 for 35, 118 yards, 0 touchdowns, 4 picks.
Oh my God.
And he fumbled twice.
Dude, that is crazy, man.
That's a good pull. I did not know that.
That is a-
They only lost by 1. They only lost by
That's
1. It was
insane.
17.
And
it was
here's the thing, he was
16
like
to 17.
29 in that game. That's the other thing that kills me about Whedon, dude, is he was like, you know how a lot of guys are like, he actually got drafted. Like, I'm pretty sure like Whedon like really went and did that baseball stuff and then came back to Oklahoma State and then went for 4 years, I think, and was like really good, honestly, because, you know, Oklahoma State. And then went to the NFL, and he was drafted in the first round by the Browns.
That made me look up what the opposing quarterback stat line must have been if he only scored 17 points with all of these turnovers. And Michael Vick went 29 of 56 for 317 yards, 2 touchdowns and 4 picks. So there were 8
That's
combined
unbelievable,
interceptions in
man.
this game.
Any
And
fumbles?
Vic also fumbled twice, although neither of them
Jesus,
lost
man.
any of their fumbles. There were four fumbles, and all of them were recovered by the offense.
I'm
So
looking. Yeah,
they
I'm
may have
looking
been
at
like a
it's
bad
like
snap or something.
yeah, it's like I think it was like it's like a game-winning drive from Vic. No, or well, they scored. I'm looking at because you can go and see the stats or whatever. It's like with 118, the Eagles score a touchdown to go up 1. So they're kicking it to Whedon for the 2-minute drill. Can you see what happened on that drive? Because
I don't know, but I'm
somewhat
looking.
confident it did not
I'm
go
distracted
well.
by another stat from this game where it's expected points added off turnovers, and the Browns had all these picks right, and they were at negative 9.8. The Eagles had just as many picks, but their picks were worth negative 24.19 points. So whatever picks Vic threw must have been a total disaster. As far as the 2-minute drill goes,
I'm looking at
okay,
it
here's
now. Alex Henry kicks off 68 yards, returned by Josh Cribbs for 33 yards. Shout out. Brandon
Shout
Whedon,
out.
interception to Kurt Coleman immediately.
To Kurt Coleman. Oh my God.
Kurt Coleman, shout out.
Shout out Kurt Coleman. I'm thinking the worst quarterback I've ever seen. It's kind of unfair because it's also during the same era as the worst coach I've ever seen. But Deshaun Kaiser, 2017, 0-15 as a starter, only had one game where he threw more touchdowns than interceptions. That was against Green Bay, and they lost that game almost immediately in overtime from the Devontae Adams screen. That was a really, really bad team.
Trying to see. There's a
But
few like real stinkers here.
Kaiser was so garbage.
He was really bad, man.
Of course, the Packers are the one team he had a better touchdown.
Oh yeah, that was his best game. Was the
because they ended up
game.
getting him, and that reminded me of when he came in week 1 of the 2018 season. Rodgers hurt his.
Did he play in that year?
It was a total disaster, this game in the first half. Like, Khalil Mack had the greatest performance I think I've ever seen from a defensive player. No joke. As if we're talking about worst games from a quarterback, best games from a non-quarterback, like Khalil Mack in week 1 of the 2018 opener was like on a completely different level. So he's like wrecking the game. Like, Rodgers seems to suffer a serious injury. And now I'm looking at the box score for Kaiser. He gets sacked by Khalil Mack for negative 12 yards. He fumbles, forced by Khalil Mack, recovered by Khalil Mack, by the way. So the trifecta for Mack. The next drive, incomplete, sacked, negative 9 yards, incomplete, intercepted, and then Rodgers comes back in. So Kaiser came in for 2 Packers drives, got strip sacked by Mack, and then threw a pick, and then he left. And that was
Mack is kind of like a backup quarterback fraud if you really think about it. Why is this guy always going off against? Yes, didn't he have like 100 sacks against Aiden O'Connell?
true. He had six sacks against O'Connell.
Aiden O'Connell's really bad too. He might
mean,
be
I
on
don't-
the list.
If you have an all-time performance against like a good starter, then I feel like a lot of these games were like, if I think about when Burrow had like his 500-yard game against the Ravens, it's like it's all on the backups, right? Like, backups are really the guys who like Myles Garrett's best reps aren't happening against Trent Williams. It's like when Myles Garrett does something absolutely sick, it's probably on some like backup who's never played left tackle before, and then he just like picks him up and spins him over his head and then throws him. Like, it's true for most stars, I think.
I was trying to remember who won Defensive Player of the Year over Mack that year, because I feel like 2018 Mack is such like a legendary season and player, and it was Aaron Donald because he had 20 sacks or whatever.
Jesus,
I mean,
man.
I can't complain, but yeah, that was a legendary season. Mack was crazy that year. That was not fun, but yeah, Kaiser in that game was pretty bad. But Blaiden, any other terrible quarterback games? I hijacked it to talk about.
Bad quarterback games, tough to think about. I know that the 2016 season for the Browns was just a total train wreck because we went through like so many quarterbacks to the point where Terrell Pryor ended up being the quarterback at one point, and that was really bad because we just straight up stopped throwing at that point. So
that was an awesome year.
There's also, of course, the Nathan Peterman game where he threw all those picks, but I don't think I watched that one. I just remember I don't think I've ever gone back and like properly watched that one all the way through. I think I just saw the game break, and it was like another pick for Nathan Peterman. The quarterback's rough afternoon continues as he's tossed his 5th interception in 5 attempts. It was something crazy, but I don't know if I can. That one doesn't stick out to me because I don't think I watched it, like the Josh Freeman Monday night game or the. I mean, Kaiser's just 2 drives.
Yeah, Kaiser is.
What year did that
horrible.
happen?
Peterman, that must have been like
28.
That's probably 2018 as well. I mean, it had to have been in like the 2016 or like the 2015 to 2018 type of range.
I don't know. I can't find it right off the top of my head, but yeah.
That happened in either 2017 or 2018.
What other questions do we have, Blaiden?
We've got 2 more. So this next one comes from Alex Beckham. What current NBA player's legacy changes the most by winning a championship this year?
This is a tough question to answer.
Embiid. No, I was immediately thinking Embiid.
Yeah, because it's like, well, who can actually do it? You know, like a lot of players' legacies would change significantly. Like, I'm trying to like if Tyrese Halliburton led this Pacers team to a title, like, okay, that would probably change his legacy more than anybody else. But we're talking about like guys who are like in play and established, but they need that ring. I'd agree with Embiid. I mean, I've kind of turned around on him, I think, in the last year or so. But if he doesn't get a ring, and if he can't stay healthy and at least get to the conference finals, it's just going to be tough. He's got to. He doesn't have a whole
ring.
He doesn't need a whole ring, but he needs a really nice run. He needs like if he could at least if he could go and beat the Celtics in the conference finals, just make the finals, and then go battle Jokic hard. That would change a lot of people's opinions on him. And I honestly don't think their odds are great. That's why I'm kind of not super comfortable answering because he's coming back from injury now, and I really like how the 76ers looked with him. I think this is the best they've looked with him since probably they had Jimmy Butler. But I think the Celtics and the Nuggets are still a tall task. Outside of that, if we're talking about like teams I really think got a shot, it's like Tatum.
Tatum would be big.
And
Tatum is not even so much.
It's like, you've got to do it, man. It's like not doing it would really hurt you. So
yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. It's like it's not even that Tatum like needs the ring for his legacy. It's like he just can't not get one. It's weird. Like, yeah. I don't know how many people's minds would be changed about Tatum, because if he got a ring, it wouldn't be like, oh, I wasn't convinced on Tatum, but now that he's done it, I'm convinced that he is a number one, that he's great. But like the Celtics are just so good. Like they're the best because they have the best rotation, like top to bottom. So it's not Tatum himself. So I think that conversations would still, like, oh, is he an MVP? Like, how good is he? Like, where does he stack up? It wouldn't be like Jokic, where like no one can say shit anymore if he gets a ring. But if he doesn't get one, then it's all of a sudden like a massive deal. So I guess,
yeah, if he doesn't get one this year, but he gets one next year, then it'll be his legacy improves.
Yeah,
probably. That's a good way to look at it, Blaiden. I agree. Mm-hmm. And it's not the end of the world if like this year they battle the Nuggets tough and lose, but like, yep, this team cannot be this good and not get a ring. It would be one of the better teams to never get one. And the problem is it's so well built out that, I mean, we don't know how things would play out. We don't know what would actually happen. But on paper, if you told me right now the Celtics didn't win the title, I'd be like, well, it probably just comes down to like their best guys aren't as good as the Nuggets' best guys. Right? Like on paper, that's what you think would get them. Now, maybe it comes down to injury, or maybe like whoever, like Porzingis has a terrible series, or who knows, or they get, whatever. But if something does not happen, it's on Tatum to get it done, and he can, but he's got to.
Yeah. One guy who I don't think will get one, but it would be crazy if he did, would be Butler. He's been to the finals so many times. He's like carried the Heat there like over and over again. But if he actually like won one, that would be absolutely insane. Like if he was the best player and the Heat finally got one after making all these improbable runs, we would have to look at Jimmy Butler and say, I think that this is the greatest playoff performer of all time. Like in terms of rising from where he was in the regular season, like there's no one else who goes on deep runs as an 8 seed, and if he actually got one, like the conversations would be crazy. I mean, I think we'd seriously be talking about like better playoff performer like him or Jordan if he took this Heat team to a ring this year.
We just got a trade that happened in the NFL. Very significant. The Bills receive a 2025 second round pick from the Vikings. The Texans receive. I'm not entirely sure how this is working.
Did Diggs get traded?
Diggs got traded to the
Okay.
Houston Texans.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, man.
Well, I think, what did we say about Diggs? I think that this makes a little bit of sense for the old Buffalo Bills. That you look at him
Okay.
and his
So
presence
they
on
got-
Twitter and just his general moodiness these past couple months. Like he didn't want to be there. I think he took a bit of a step back, and they kept Joe Brady as the coordinator. So it's like, how much is Diggs really going to be involved? Does he want a full season of that? I thought it made a lot of sense that they would trade him this offseason, and the Texans were honestly the destination that made some sense. Like they have Tank Dell, they have Nico Collins, but they needed a third piece of their receiving core, and maybe a true one. I think Nico Collins is pretty good, but you needed another like boundary corner or boundary wide receiver. I've misspoke so many times. This is what happens when we record at 7:30. But wow, yeah, I think it makes sense. What did the Bills get in return? You mentioned
The Bills
second
got
round.
they
They got a
got
second
yeah they got
round
a
pick.
second. It's the second that the Texans got from the Vikings. That's what it is.
Okay, so the Vikings are not
Yes.
involved in a Diggs trade once again in like a 3-team trade type of deal. I thought
Yeah.
maybe.
That's what I was thinking at first, but I was like, wait, the Vikings don't have a second.
Okay, so they traded.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Houston Texans traded a second round pick for Diggs. I mean, the Texans are not fucking playing, man. I mean,
They are not playing.
It's time
They
to
are
be
not
aggressive.
playing.
It just comes down to whether or not you think the attitude stuff with Diggs. I mean, I don't know. I'm not in the room, but like, the sort of drama around Diggs is worth it. And whether or not you think he's actually started to slow down or not, because he did not close out last year good. The Texans are saying, yeah, we
No.
do. And we think we're on the upswing. The answer is the Bills apparently think no.
Right. Yeah, and that's the other thing with the Bills is like we were saying, if they had an opportunity to get rid of Diggs while his value was still somewhat high, they would probably take it. And if you went another year with Diggs, you're probably not even getting a second for him next year.
yeah, and I think it's going to be fine for Buffalo, even though Diggs fell off a bit at the end. I think it's going to be fine for Buffalo because I think that Josh Allen can make any receiving core good. Like Rodgers was given nothing but second round picks to work with his entire career. And what did he make out of them? Like Devontae Adams was a second round pick. Jordy Nelson was a second round pick. Like
I
Greg
agree.
Jennings was a second round pick. If you have a great quarterback, these guys are going to hit their potential. So if you draft like a Javon Baker or a Xavier Legette or something like that in the second round, or someone perhaps better in the first, like whatever you want them to turn into, like they probably will if they end up in Buffalo. So I think it's going to work out for them in the long term. And then like there's a lot of weapons now in Houston, and if whoever you want to tilt your coverage to, like the others can still win one-on-one situations. Like Diggs was the main guy in Houston. I can't help but think he'll benefit greatly from having Nico Collins opposite from him. Like as much as I like Khalil Shakir and Cook and Kincaid, like having
Yeah,
another corner like
it's,
that or
it's
another wide receiver.
Diggs, Nico, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz. Like, it's legit.
They got a squad.
Man.
They got a
nice.
squad. They got a major squad. They're contenders for the Super Bowl, no doubt about it. I mean, Stroud is that guy. D'Amico is that guy.
Another year of improvement for Stroud.
Stingley.
It could be.
Yep.
Just need another corner, another coverage body somewhere, a safety like opposite Stingley. If he can stay on his pace that he was at the end of last year, he could be an all-pro player. It's someone else in that secondary, though, whether it be a linebacker who resembles Fred Warner somehow, like a safety. Just, I think that could be the last force multiplier that they needed, that you can't just totally avoid Stingley and have everybody else be pick-onable. That's the last piece of this puzzle. So they should just draft.
Oh.
They should draft all secondary players this whole draft, top to bottom, and if one of them hits, they'll be all set.
Well,
And
their
maybe
first
another
pick of the
interior
draft
defensive
will be
lineman.
at 59 overall, it looks like. So we'll see what
probably
they
not
can do
getting
with that.
We'll see. I'm not totally in love with day 2 of this draft, so they're probably not going to get a ton better in the draft, but they got a ton better in free agency. Super aggressive 2 years in a row. So yeah, they've gotten a lot better.
So yeah, that's huge. One more question to wrap things up here. Just a little bit of fun. Our favorite and least favorite position groups to watch for the draft, just as far as entertaining goes.
I like interior defensive line a lot. Something about that position always, because versus the past, they're usually rushing, and you can judge, are they collapsing the pocket? What kind of moves do they have? And then on basically every run, their film is useful as
They're
well.
involved
Whereas
a lot. It's like we're a corner. It's like, okay, not much here. Okay, not much here. Okay, then okay, he's running a hitch. Okay, this is a run, hitch. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
that sucks.
Secondary is almost always the worst.
I like running backs a lot. When they're really involved in the play, they're the center of attention, and they do a lot of different things like block and then go out and catch. But it's easy to tell what they're doing with the running backs, and they do a lot. So, and they go beast mode more so than pretty much any other position.
they're probably my second favorite. They're almost like the offensive answer to the defensive tackle, and like that whole cat and mouse game of like, if it's inside zone, like finding the gap to hit in that whole process. And some of these guys, like the way they set up blockers and manipulate with patience behind the line of scrimmage, when they get really good at that and they're getting the ball 20 times a game, like it gets really, really fun to turn on the tape. So and then quarterback, good ones can just warm my heart. Like the way that some people have comfort movies or TV shows, it's like I can throw on like Anthony Richardson film, and it legitimately like is awesome to watch. The way some of these dudes can maneuver the pocket and the reads that they hit. It's like, how did they find that answer? When guys make a special play at the quarterback position, it's just different. So I got to put quarterback.
Theo on a rainy day. Theo on a rainy day puts on some Anthony Richardson film, cuddles up with a nice warm blanket, some hot.
That's
chocolate.
exactly what I'll do. I'll go revisit like. Oh, that's exactly what I'll go do. I'll go revisit like some old Aaron Rodgers tape. Sue me. I was watching Brady yesterday a little bit, just going through
Brady's college tape is actually really good. It's like unironically.
I've never gone back and watched his college tape, but like I was just watching an old like random ass Patriots game the other day, watching him like slide around and find the right read all the time. It's cool to watch the quarterback. So defensive lineman, running back, and quarterback are probably my guys.
I like receiver.
Those are probably the ones who are most involved.
I like receivers a decent amount, unless they're like. I didn't love watching Mitchell because when he's not involved, he just he like takes the play off.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like the half field read systems where like what side is getting the ball and which one isn't, is lame to watch for the receivers sometimes, and that's what Mitchell I think fell victim to with his film. But I
Yeah,
don't know,
so those guys can be a little bit underwhelming to watch, but a receiver that like Marvin Harrison Jr.'s a lot of fun to watch. Trying to think about, I feel like most receivers that are like decent, it's usually an entertaining.
I love watching Roma Dunze. Like Roma Dunze
man.
is just
Oh
one of
my
my
God.
absolute favorites ever to watch. But in this class specifically, it's a little different because this interior defensive line class, like, isn't it? I've actually really enjoyed watching the corners in this class, like Wiggins chasing guys around.
Yeah.
Like DeJean is a cool player. Like I think that
was
he's
a fun
bit
watch,
stiff, but he's fun. Sanders still is really fun to watch. Arnold has crazy ball skills. Like Kool-Aid is super technically sound. Like I think the corners, there's a bunch of guys in the first round, and even some of these second rounders are a little intriguing. Like TJ Tampa is kind of a freak athlete, but he's like guessing. But he's still like got some interesting plays. So I like the corner class this year. I've enjoyed watching them.
Nice.
Yeah.
But not in general.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I'd rather watch a sick interior defensive line class with like 5 first round DTs, but
I can agree.
Jalen Carter. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Another mailbag episode. We don't do them very often, but they're fun from time to time. And then we got the Diggs news broke right here at the end. So we're very glad that happened. But thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode of Stay Hot. We'll be back with more content here for you very shortly. But until then, we will catch you on the flippity flop.